Hello, this is Josh, and as a Christian, there was a time when even the best spiritual practices couldn't quiet my internal noise. I felt powerless to turn down the volume. The pain I tried to avoid, the failures I tried to fix, they just kept resurfacing. I didn't lose my faith, but I wondered if God's kindness is to bind up the brokenhearted and community is meant to heal, why do I still feel so tangled up inside? I didn't give up on God or myself or others, but I couldn't help but wonder, is this it? If you've ever felt that, even a little, you're not crazy. In the next few minutes, I hope to show you a way forward to find relief, healing, and freedom so you can step beyond surface level life to experience deep, lasting intimacy with God, yourself, and others. I had just finished these 2 intense years of ministry school, layered on top of 6 seasons helping others encounter God through outdoor adventures with this amazing ministry in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It was a time of powerful bonding experiences with Jesus, with others, but when it ended, I stepped into real life and felt like the foundation I thought I had just wasn't there. I was disoriented. If I had done all this spiritual work, why was I still dealing with so much internal noise, these tangled feelings and thoughts that seemed to keep me from real closeness with God and with others? Deep down, I wanted relief and peace to the internal chaos, and I longed for freedom from the habits and the patterns that kept sabotaging my life and the people I cared about most. Because you see, for a while, the spiritual practices I had relied on helped. Prayer, worship, scripture, journaling, Sabbath, my rule of life, community. But eventually, that all seemed to just be the surface over something deeper. They weren't bad, they're good even. They just weren't touching the ache beneath it all. I kept doing the right things, but they didn't seem to bring me to the redeemed life that I saw available. But the shift happened one spring when a close friend sent me a podcast summarizing a book called The Critical Journey. And it outlines these 6 stages of the life of faith. And I saw myself clearly in stages 1 through 3, but stage 4 was like this looming doorway that I'd never walked through before. It's the journey inward, where you venture under your skin to honestly face your pain, your questions, your doubts, and the unresolved parts of your story, not to get stuck there, but to let God meet and heal you in deeper ways. And the risk of avoiding that journey is staying stuck in this surface level stages of maturity. And that's where I was. And it makes sense too, because everything around me was designed to keep me from going inward. My culture, my wiring, even some parts of Christian community didn't encourage it. So I didn't go. And the feelings and thoughts that felt crazy inside of me, they stayed. Those crazy feelings look like moments of depression, anxiety and control, resentment, apathy, self-pity, toxic shame, and sensuality without heart. Overwhelmed in the moments that I most wanted connection. And the crazy thoughts sounded like this ping pong match between rationalizing and justifying and spinning a narrative to self-prescribed judgment, blame, and accusation, all in an attempt to keep myself safe. I knew that grace and mercy were available, but it's like they were somewhere out there, not transcendently experienced, and I remained disconnected from what God can do in me and through me. My core values fell to the side and this arrogant insecurity began to reign in me. So I started asking, what if? What if all this internal chaos wasn't a sign I was broken, but an invitation to go deeper with God? And what if on the other side, I could actually experience the kind of healing, relief, peace, and intimacy with God and others that I'd only ever glimpsed? And so I began the journey inward. And a few years later, I met a guy named Dr. Jake Smith Jr. I spent years learning from him, not just as a participant in spiritual formation programs and one-on-ones with him, but eventually apprenticing under him for a full year. It was a clunky journey from theory to embodied transformation, and it gave me language and tools that I still use today. But the insights didn't come from Dr. Jake alone. There were years of therapy with my counselor Justin, countless books, podcasts and moments wrestling with and writing my own story, and even sitting across from others as I helped them begin to enter theirs. And through all of it, I've discovered this. The two most consistent invitations for the journey inward, the ones that none of us can avoid, are pain and failure. This isn't a cheap microwave lesson. It's been years in the making and it's been costly, but it's also been the most fruitful discovery. Because you see, pain and failure have potential to either deform us or become the very things that form Christ in us. And we'll face them in the future. That's a given. But what's not a given is whether or not they serve to usher us into a deeper life with Jesus and others. When we don't face them, they have the potential to destroy our God-given sense of unearned love and identity, leading to unhealthy behaviors, emotional reactivity, and spiritual disconnection. But when we do face them, with God and with others, they become these doorways into living as our true selves, as wounded healers with humble confidence and deeper communion. They prepare us, not just to heal from what's behind, but to walk through future pain and failure with grace, without drowning in crazy feelings and thoughts. This is the invitation to the inward journey. Not to avoid the hard stuff, but to be formed through it and experience life to the full with God, with others, and with ourselves. I forgot to take the last paper off, so Christ formed in you. I'd like to offer you a simple way to begin your own inward journey. I'm calling it the 3 You Inside You pathways, and it's 3 essential pathways that you can walk to experience relief and healing and freedom. Don't worry, you don't have to go to the depths right away. God is gentle, He's kind, He won't force you anywhere, and it would be kind to offer yourself the same gift. So, what does it actually mean to go inward? Well, we know our physical anatomy, respiratory system, circulatory system, skeletal systems, but we also have, as Dr. Jake calls it, a spiritual anatomy. So we get this from the Shema, which Jesus calls the greatest commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, followed by, and your neighbor as yourself. You've all heard of this before. But each one of those represent a different internal system. For example, our heart system is our center for feeling and needing. Our soul system is our center for being, envisioning, and dreaming. Our mind system is our center for thinking, learning, and judgment. And our strength system is our center for doing, practicing, and working. Now, the greatest fractures in our lives happen when one of these systems dominates while the others are neglected. For example, here's a moment I realized I was living dominantly from my mind. I was in an argument with my mom, and in the middle, she blurts out, "You're being an asshole, Josh." And she was right. I was in my mind, trying to logic my way through the argument, no heart, and it was fracturing our relationship. Of course, that wasn't a one-off moment. It was a pattern. When my mind and strength are dominant, but I ignore my heart and soul, I become rigid, controlling, and manipulative. I blow up relationships, run my own life and the lives of others into the ground. Fortunately, our culture celebrates mind and strength, but spiritual maturity means integration. All 4 systems attached, nourished, and working together. That's what allows us to face pain and failure well. What I needed wasn't more information. I needed to learn how to live with more heart and soul. So, how do you live with more heart and soul? Well, that's what pathway number 2 is all about. Most of us don't need to be inspired or learn something new or begin a new spiritual practice. We need to learn how to live with healthy hearts. And scripture gives us a paradox. It says, the heart is deceitful and also it's a tree of life. How can both be true? That's because the heart isn't good or bad. It's powerful. If ignored, it deceives. But if nurtured with reverence, it leads to life. And that starts by learning what to do with our heart's feelings. So think of your feelings as friendly guides. They reveal what our heart needs, and then if we meet those needs in healthy ways, they can guide us toward healing and connection in life. If you want that painful internal noise to quiet down, you need to learn to care for your heart. Here's a few examples. Feeling lonely shows that I need connection, and it leads me to intimacy. Feeling hurt shows I need comfort, and it opens the door to healing. Feeling shame reminds me of my limitations, and it leads me to humility. And feeling fear shows that I need help and protection, which makes wisdom and faith available. Feeling sadness shows me what I'm missing and allows me to grieve and accept. And when I began learning how to feel what I feel and bring it to God and to others, it changed everything. I could bring all of me, not just the good parts, and I could experience intimacy beyond rhetoric and beyond actions alone. Now, learning this is clumsy, and that's okay. The caveat is you just can't do it alone, which leads us to pathway number 3. Your heart's feelings and its needs, connection, comfort, protection, delight, etc., they cannot be met on your own in isolation. They must be met by God and by others. But most people don't know how to offer what you actually need. And to be honest, neither did I at first. Think about it. When someone shares something vulnerable, we often joke or bypass with encouragement or give advice, but none of that actually builds intimacy. What we really need and what we're often unknowingly asking for is what Dr. Dan Allender calls attunement. Attunement means someone is working to see you, to feel with you, to suffer with you, and to delight in you. And what most people are searching for when they say they want to feel more connected to God and others and experience healing that they can't seem to find, what they're saying without knowing it is, I want to know God and those closest to me see me, feel with me, suffer alongside me, and delight in me. And when you experience God and others attuning with you, they're giving you what you didn't have in the past pain and failure you experienced. And this is actually what your heart longs for deepest anyway. So this, my friends, this is the inward journey. It's not abstract. It's not just emotional. It's spiritual, relational, personal, and it's deeply communal. And I promise you, when you begin walking these pathways, even imperfectly, because that's how it starts, you will start to experience what your heart has been aching for all along: relief, healing, freedom, and intimacy with God, with yourself, and with others that's lasting, it's real, it's life-giving. When I began to walk these pathways for myself, I went from stuck to I'm not stuck anymore. Painful life experiences and failures, they didn't hurt like they used to. They don't derail or define me. And I've experienced real relief and healing from the emotional weight I was carrying. My internal chaos is quieted. It's not completely gone, that'd be unrealistic, but it's no longer in control. I've stopped living in cycles of shame and fear, overthinking, or protection, and I know how to walk through grief and hurt and loneliness and even face my anger. And I've found peace where I used to only feel pressure or confusion. And I know meaningful, healthy relationships, no longer these surface level or codependent. I have more freedom than ever from reactive patterns that used to sabotage my life and relationships, because there's a greater sense of clarity, stability, freedom in my relationship with God and others and myself. But something changed in me that's even deeper than all of that. I've come home to who I really am. And I'm here for others now too. I'm no longer defined by what has or hasn't happened or what I have or I haven't done. I begin to live from my true self, from who I am as created and known by God, that was buried beneath the damage, the pain, and the failure. No longer is my identity built on striving and control and the need to prove anything. My existence isn't defined by avoiding pain and failure like it used to be. I trust God to meet me in them. And I see my life as a story being written by God, not random and not wasted. It's like this. One day, I was sitting in therapy, my counselor Justin. It was a good session, but not one marked by any big breakthrough or anything. And I ended by saying to him, I said, man, I love that our sessions feel less like therapy and more just like spiritual direction. And he smiles at me, lighthearted, but serious. And he said, of course, man. It's all endless spinning otherwise. And that's pointless if it doesn't lead us back to God. And I felt like time stopped when he said that. So I've done this work for long enough to know that it's easy to go deep for the sake of going deep, to stay stuck in project self, endlessly looking for the next thing to fix. But what we're really after here isn't insight or even healing for its own sake. Hear me say this if you hear anything. It's healing for the existential pain of being a human apart from God. It's coming home to God, to who we actually are, for the sake of others. If something in this resonates, if you feel some hope or some clarity or even a little bit overwhelmed, I've put together something that can help. It's the full version of the You Inside You pathways. It's a free resource and it'll walk you through the pathways I covered step by step in less than 10 minutes a day. I'll help you see what your own spiritual anatomy currently looks like so that you can name the fractures in your life and then meet God in healing them. I'll give you this really stupid, simple framework for understanding your heart's feelings and needs, and then you can start to get those needs met in a healthy way. And I'll also show you how to invite God and others into your story through attunement so you can finally experience that connection and freedom that you've been longing for. It'll be simple, it'll be practical. I'll set you up to use these pathways throughout the rest of your life. And if you're someone who's like really ready to go deep, you're like, man, I want to do this thing. There's so much here for me to learn. I'm also offering free one-on-one sessions to help you jumpstart the journey. All you gotta do is fill out the form here, somewhere around this video. I'll see you inside. Thanks so much for listening. God bless. Let's go on the journey. See.